Welcome back to the news at 10. Now, to discuss the nation's political progress and direction, I'm now being joined on the news at 10 by an Associate Professor of Political Science, University of Lagos, Dr. Deri Ologbenla. Thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much.
53 years as an independent nation, and congratulations on making it this far. At least we can start by saying that.
Thank you.
Let's look at the President's address this morning. He had a lot of words for the political class, and he talked about focusing on Nigeria. It should be about Nigeria and not any specific individual. In your experience of our politics and our politicians, is that a tall order for them?
Well, it's an encouraging statement by the President to the political elites or the political class. But generally speaking, the problem of the political elite, rather than a class, has always been struggle for power. Rather than putting the nation first, they are always having struggle for power. And once they obtain this power, they often use it for things that are not, ultimately progressive. That is for the development of the country. Thus, there is a lot wrong with the political elite, which sometimes the journalists refer to as the political class. They are a group of people that continue to struggle for power through the various political parties, and once they achieve this power, they use it to accumulate. That's the first thing. Second, they use it to distribute largesse, that is positions of influence and authority, and they also use it to continue to perpetuate themselves in office.
But it hasn't always been like this, has it? I mean, the writers of the Constitution and the nationalists back in the day weren't using power this way. What has gone wrong with us 53 years later? What
really went wrong was that the political elite in the early 60s, by 65, 66, were quarreling and fighting among themselves. They could not bring themselves to forgive one another for past errors and to have a solid, united front for the development of Nigeria. And thus, there was a schism in the political elite, or within the political elites. And this gave the military the opportunity to enter. And once the military entered the political scene and tasted political power, well, they were not going to go away very easily, because power is very sweet. And it seems to me that that crisis in 1966 and 65 earlier gave the military a chance. And once the military penetrated, they were not living they were not going to go away.
But we have a new sort of crisis now that doesn't involve them. I mean, since 1999,
yes,
we have democracy, as we would say.
Yes.
There's another form of crisis that we've got.
Again.
And I would like to look at the political parties as we're analyzing our politics.
Again, the question is very, very relevant. The political elite, again, are fighting among themselves, especially the PDP. The PDP has been in power for almost 14 years plus, and they have been doing well in some areas.
Some people would argue that with you.
In some areas, they have been doing well. In other areas, we want them to do more. But unfortunately, there are two factions now. And the factions are the one, I will say, creating the crisis within the PDP. But fundamental is the crisis in the north. The crisis that have, arisen because of Boko Haram and the terror that Boko Haram have unleashed on the populace of northern Nigeria.
So how do you tie that particular crisis of Boko Haram, as you're talking about, to our politics right now?
Well, we could really tie it up by saying, when the crisis started, if there was a united front, we could have nipped this thing in the bud. But a house divided against itself will surely have problems. And some people gave support earlier on to the Boko Haram, and the consequence of that is that Boko Haram have now grown and become a very big, cancerous cell spreading within the Nigerian political.
What we're looking at right now is the way out of that.
Now, what is the way out? Number one, Mr. President have suggested dialogue severally. But these people have refused to come out and table their demands. And because they refuse to come out to table their demands, it's very difficult to really negotiate and dialogue with them. But nevertheless, a committee was set up. Professor Obalaji Akiyemi and others were members, and I think they're still doing their work. Meanwhile, the president is forging ahead to set up another committee now.
We heard that in his broadcast today.
Yes, to set up another committee now for national dialogue. I think if people are really genuinely interested in bringing peace about in Nigeria, dialogue will be the best option.
All right, Doctor.
But the president must always have two strategy.
Yeah.
While we are using the military and the armed forces and the security forces to contain the Boko Haram spreading terror in various parts of the north, we must also begin to negotiate and dialogue with those who are ready to dialogue with government.
All right, it's at that point we're going to have to leave it. I'm going to thank you so much for sharing your insight with us here on the News at 10. Now, I've been speaking with an Associate Professor of Political Science in the University of Lagos, Dr. Daring Ologbenla. We've been looking at Nigeria's political journey, 53 years on, and how it can all be better for us all as we move forward. Now, messages of peace and accountability formed part of the sermon and also the goodwill messages at a special Independence Mass organized by the Catholic Archdiocese of Lagos. His Eminence, Francis Cardinal Arinze, urged the nation's political leaders to shun corruption and be content with what they're paid. Our correspondent Henry Ogunchimi, who attended the Mass, has the report.
It's Nigeria's 53rd independence anniversary, and as it's been observed in various worship centers across the country, a special National Independence Mass took place behind these closed doors at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic Church, Victoria Island, Lagos. To commemorate the event, His Eminence Francis Cardinal Arinze led other officiating ministers at the service. In his sermon, the Cardinal spoke about social vices and the security situation in the country.
Anyone who steals does not love his neighbor. Anyone who cheats, kills another, embezzles public or company funds. Anyone who uses another human being as an object for pleasure. Anyone who sets people in violence against others. Anyone who does any of these things does not love his neighbor.
He also joined some well-meaning Nigerians to challenge the political class.
Today, being the 53rd birthday of Nigeria, is a day that we will ask our political leaders to forget this their quarrel, to forget fight. I mean, we are sick and tired of hearing that PDP is PDP new and PDP old because it doesn't put food on the table.
We have listened to our president talk this morning about the constitution of a committee to work out the modalities for a national conference. We are all working anxiously, and we hope we will have something to build upon from there on.
Honesty, efficiency, and could they be content with their official pay?
There you have it from that concerned Nigerian. Well, it is hoped that come next year, when the nation celebrates its 100 years of existence, some of these challenges would have been a thing of the past. From Lagos, Henry Ogunjimi, reporting for Channels Television News.
It's to commemorate the United Nations Day for the Aged that the Lagos Anglican Diocese Elders Fellowship organized this 2-day residential prayer retreat for the aged, those believed about 65 and above, in over 50 churches of the diocese. The organizers of the program also drew attention to the plight of the elderly in the country. They want the government, more groups and individuals to get involved in the care of the aged.
First Bank, truly the first.
Well, markets here in Nigeria were closed for the day, but there was still some business. Here's Joke Rogers to tell us all about it. Joke?
Thank you so much, Ijoma. Of course, there was still some. Well, we'll start off with the President's broadcast. Nigeria is not doing badly as a nation, and the present administration will continue to do all it can to put the economy on the right track. These were some of the comments made by the President during his Independence Day speech earlier on today. President Goodluck Jonathan gave Nigerians the assurance that despite the security and social challenges in the country, the federal government is still committed to eradicating poverty and corruption.
In our journey to greatness as a nation, we have built an economy that is robust, erected enduring infrastructure and institutions of democracy. Our social system is now more inclusive, open and compassionate. We are waging a steady battle against poverty, unemployment, and corruption. Our sense of community, solidarity, and shared expectation is strong and capable of withstanding the present social, economic, and political challenges that still confront us.
President Goodluck Jonathan on Nigeria's economy. The financial markets are closed today as Nigerians celebrate the 53rd year of the nation's independence. The local bourse, which started trading on its new platform this week, closed sunny side up for a fourth consecutive trading session on Monday. The all-share index appreciated by 0.40%, closed at 36,585 points, with a market capitalization of 11.65 trillion naira. Meanwhile, at the interbank market, the naira weakened against the US dollar as offshore investors settling their local debt put pressure on the local currency. It closed at 161 naira 6 kobo per dollar, weaker than the 159.9 at which it closed on Friday. Market activities are expected to resume on Wednesday, October the 2nd. Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves are now down to $45.66 billion. The reserves fell 2.62% month on month by September the 26th, the lowest in 8 months. They stood at $46.89 billion a month earlier. The reserves were last at this level on January the 25th, when they were $45.56 billion. That's the business news for tonight. We'll just leave you with those markets before Ijoma returns with the rest of the news at 10.
First Bank, truly the first.
Still ahead on the news at 10, FIFA rejects Cape Verde appeal from being disqualified in the World Cup 2014 playoffs. That's on Sports News. Do you understand?